Hello everyone. Myself Saha. I'm an assistant professor from the Department of Pharmaceutical Technology, JISU University. Today I'm going to talk about the subject of basic and clinical pharmacology. This is a subject of BMLT second year, and the subject is having a subject code BML 304. And the topic I'm going to talk about it is basics of clinical trial, and this is a part of the unit of your syllabus, unit 1, that is general and basic pharmacology. So it's a fairly new chapter. It's a very important part of your syllabus, I would say. So I'll request all of you to pay your full attention towards it, thus you will not miss any important point. So objective. So every chapter, whenever we used to study, we need to know the objective of studying the chapter. So if we know the objective of studying the chapter, we will be understanding the importance of that, and we'll be also understanding that what we are going to study in this chapter. So this chapter will let you know about the basic concept of clinical trial, different phases of clinical trial, and the importance of that in case of drug development and research. So what the clinical trial is, as I'm sure all of you are hearing right now at the present situation in this pandemic situation, about the clinical trial, phase 3, phase 4, phase 2 clinical trial. So what is it? Why people are getting mad out of for that about clinical trial? So that we'll be knowing today. And below you can see some of the course objective I have given here. That is a course objective of this session. So here you will get to know from this chapter the course objective which will be fulfilled, that is to understand that the course objective 5, course objective 3, and others as well in a little bit manner. So to understand the therapeutic application and adverse effect of drugs, including the molecular basics of mechanism of action and guiding principle of prescribing practices, etc. These are the contents which we are going to study today. So we'll be focusing on the phases of clinical trial basically, and with that we will also get to know about the what, like in each and every clinical trial, what basically happens. So clinical trial is any investigation in human subjects which is intended to discover or verify the chemical, pharmacological, or other pharmacodynamic effect of an investigational product, to identify any adverse effect to an investigational product, to study absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion of an investigational product with the as object of asserting its safety and efficacy. So what does it mean? It means firstly that we'll be talking about investigational product. Investigational product means the product which is under the investigation, the product about which we don't know much. So what happens here, that in different trials what we get to know is whenever a trial starts, there should be a basic two-way the way it starts. First is the target oriented, second is the non-target oriented. Target oriented means suppose if I give you the example of current situation. Okay, so the current situation, everybody knows that we are running through a phase of pandemic where COVID-19 is a disease which is not having any kind of vaccines, right? So the doctors or researchers are focusing on making any medicines, treatment, or therapy or vaccines for the COVID-19. So we are targeting a disease, that this is the disease to which I have to focus on, and I have to make the medicines or therapy or treatment. Non-target oriented means during research, you are suddenly identifying that, oh my god, this is a new molecule and I don't know what it does actually, what its effect is all about. So that time, what we used to do, we are selecting that molecule and we are seeing what kind of effect is this molecule having. Is this molecule having any hypertensive effect, anti-hypertensive effect, or hypertensive effect, or a hypoglycemic effect, or so and so. We are seeing because this molecule is fully new to us. So one is target oriented, another one is non-target oriented. So this is the basics of research. Then we are going to see pharmacodynamic effect, like what body does to the body. I'm sorry, what drug does to the body, like what kind of response, which I have mentioned. It is antihypertensive, it is anti-hypoglycemic or so. And the pharmacokinetics effect, that is absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion, that is ADME. That also we are studying. And along with that, we are also studying the efficacy and potency, how much effective it is and how much potent it is, like what is the amount, what is the minimum amount to which it will start to show its positive or desired action. So all these studies, all these data we used to collect for a particular drug or for a particular disease for a drug in the clinical trial. So this all setup is being called as a clinical trial. So these are the basic phases of clinical trial: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. Phase 1 is checking for safety. Phase 2 is checking for efficacy. Phase 3 is confirming the findings of the large patient population. And phase 4, testing the long-term safety in diverse patient population. Let me just tell you one thing that will help you to understand the things better. That this 4 phases, in each and every phase, the number of participants or volunteers will be increasing. Whatever if there is if number of volunteers in phase 1 is 25, the number of volunteers in phase 2 will be 100 or more than that. Phase 3 will be more than 100, or more than phase 2, and phase 4 will be on a big population, that is on a market, general market, because phase 4 can be called as a post-marketing surveillance. After marketing, for a certain period of time, we'll be doing the surveillance, that whether which population or whether people are suffering from any kind of problems, any kind of issues, or what kind of adverse effect they are going through. Okay. And we need to also see in each and every phase what is the basic thing what we are checking, and which kind of volunteers, and how much, what is the amount, that what is the numbers of volunteers we are taking. So this kind of information we need to know for each of the phases of clinical trial. But before moving on to phase 1, there is a very recent findings which researchers has done, that is new phases. One new phase they have introduced, and that is phase 0. Phase 0 is a recent designation of exploratory first-in-human trials conducted in accordance with United States Food and Drug Administration 2006 guidance on exploratory investigation of new drug studies. Phase 0 trials, also known as microdosing study. So it means that this is a very recent findings which has got the approval of US FDA 2006, and for the exploratory investigation of new drug studies. For new drug studies, this phase 0 may be useful. By thinking like this, the governing authority has introduced this phase 0, and it is also being called microdosing study. So why it is microdosing study and why it is important? The reason it is being called microdosing study is because suppose you are introducing, uh, you are investigating on such a drug which is very expensive. Okay, so but expensive, but you are putting it in a phase 1 trial. So phase 1 is having the volunteers, around 25 volunteers, let's assume. So that expensive thing you have to give for a certain period of time to 25 volunteers. So after that, you don't even know that that phase is going to pass or not. It may fail. It is having a possibility to fail, because it's a trial, it's examination we are doing. You may fail, you may pass. So it's kind of a 50-50 chance, you can say, right? The probability of failure is also there. So somehow if you get failed, then the cost you have invested by by giving that dose of a very expensive drug to 25 people is on the waste. So that's the reason for such kind of conditions. The authority have thought, if there is a study if there is phase, that is being called phase 0, because the very small amount, micro dose, it is being administered and being given to the patient or volunteers to see whether it is showing some action or not, some desired effect it is giving or not. If you are saying by small doses, some other techniques, if it is showing action, some of the chemical changes it is showing, that proves, okay, the probability of getting success is higher. Then I can go to phase 1. So that's the reason phase 0 study has been introduced, but it is not mandatory. If some research group or investigator wants to omit this phase 0, they easily can. It's not something mandatory. It's on your choice, on the research group who are dealing their choice. So it is not something mandatory. Like phase 1, 2, 3, 4 are mandatory, but phase 0 is not. So these are features of phase 0, where we are seeing the pharmacodynamic and pharmacokinetic effects of particularly oral bioavailability and half-life of the drug. Dose is being given 1/100th of therapeutic dose. So we can understand how much small dose is being given. 10 to 15 volunteers are taken here. So the number of volunteers are less than phase 1. It gives no data about safety or efficacy, being in definition to a low dose called therapeutic effect. So it is not giving any effect, any data on safety and efficacy, but it is giving that data on whether it is whether it is having any therapeutic effect on low dose or not. That's what it is showing. Phase 0 clinical trial are not mandatory, as I said, and they are just case to case based. So it's completely up to you whether you want to opt for it or not. Phase 1, very important. Phase 1 trials are the first stage of human trial. So basically, before the human trial, there are preclinical trial. Preclinical trial means whenever the study is being done on animals. So once your drug is being passed through preclinical trial, then it can be moved to clinical trial. Okay, so that is the basic difference. So once you are done with preclinical animal study, then you have to go for human trial. So here 20 to 100 volunteers can be taken. So you can see in this clinical trial, according to the according to different circumstances or availability of the volunteers, or the the kind of research we are doing, the number of volunteers varies from 20 to 100, but it is more than the phase 0. So that's the reason phase 0 has been introduced, as you understand. So 20 to 100 healthy volunteers. So let me just tell you, it is healthy volunteers. So so as you can see here, it is healthy volunteers. So these healthy volunteers are very important. So from the second or third phase, you will see that those are not the healthy volunteers. So phase 1 is the trial where healthy volunteers we are taking. Phase 1 trial also normally include dose ranging, also called dose escalation studies, so that best or safest dose can be found and to discover the point at which the compound is too poisonous to administer. So here the dose selection is being done, like as you have already studied about therapeutic index. So therapeutic index suggests it's a window which gives the minimum concentration of effectiveness and maximum concentration, after which the drug will show its its toxic effect. This window is a safety window, you can say. So this safety window from the phase 1 we can understand, we can determine. Okay. To access, the primary goal is to assess the safety, as I said, tolerability, pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics of the drug. These trials are often conducted in an inpatient clinic. If you're going to RG, or you will see there are clinical trials going on, where the subject can be observed by full-time staff. Phase 1 trials often include more, healthy volunteers. Most of the time, it includes healthy volunteers. The tested range of doses will usually be fraction of the dose that caused harm in animal testing. So, if 100 mg of a particular drug shows uh, you know, harmful effect on animal studies. So maybe 50 mg or maybe 40 mg or 20 mg will be administered to the healthy patient. So this is basically the ratio. Volunteers are paid an inconvenience fee for their time spent in the volunteer center. Pay depends on the length of the participation. So in the clinical trial, one very important terminology is there, that is informed consent. Informed consent means, suppose you are a volunteer and I am the researcher. So I'll be saying to you, I'll be giving a paper to you where it will be written all the details of the, all the details of the research will be written over there, and it will also be written that what you are going to see through, what you are going to see, or what will be happening to you, what kind of medication I'll be giving to you, why am I choosing you. All this clarification will be written over there, and it will be written that if anything problem happens, so that's completely responsibility goes to you, because you're, after knowing all these things, you are agreeing that as a volunteer, right? So you'll be signing to that okay, I'm giving you my consent, that if anything happens, that is not the responsibility of you, the researcher, the investigative group. And for that, I'm giving you some amount of money as well, because you may be earning member to your family. So you will be with me for a period of time of research, so you won't be able to go for your job, so there will be a gap in your earnings. So better, I'm giving you a certain amount of money to compensate that. That is inconvenience fee. And the informed consent is very, very important in case of starting the research. So there are different kinds of phases of clinical trial. Phase 1 clinical trial: single ascending dose, multiple ascending dose, and food effect. So what are these things? I'll request all of you to see what it is. That can be your task, because I'm not discussing that, because it is not very required in your syllabus, because in your syllabus the detailed study is not there. So if you want to know about it, you can search about it, and I also can discuss about it in the doubt clearing classes. Okay, so I'm just right now skipping the details of this one. Phase 2, once a dose or range of dose is determined, the next goal is to evaluate whether the drug has any biological activity or effect. Phase 2 trials are performed on a larger groups, as I have told. Once the phases will be one of the other phases will be having a more number of volunteers, and are designed to assess how well the drug works, as well as to continue the phase 1 safety assessment. So phase 2 is basically the continuity of phase 1 trial and the safety assessment, and it is being done on 100 to 300 larger groups. And here the healthy volunteers are not basically taken. So phase 2 is having two classification: phase 2A and phase 2B. Phase 2A sees how much drug should be given, amount of the drug, and phase 2B how well the drug responds to the dose. So the how dose is that particular dose which we have selected, how much effective it is. Primary goal to determine the therapeutic efficacy. Pilot trials are being done, like it's a big trials. Pilot trials, the big trials are being done to determine, by targeting a particular population. Subjects few hundred, already mentioned, 100 to 300 participants are taken. Patients fitting narrow eligibility criteria. So the eligibility criteria is to be very narrow, thus to get a specific or very accurate result. Dose escalation is also there. So dose, selection, or how much safety, as we are dealing with safety index here. So dose escalation is also there. Parallel dose response is also there. Phase 2B. Phase 2B is focusing on the aspects of phase 2A trial. It's a blinding trial, so double blind or single blind trial is there. Double blind or single blind. Let me just tell you, double blind means whenever the both research group and volunteers will not be knowing what is the medication is being given to the volunteers. So that is double blind. Both of the side is blind. And single blind means only the volunteers will not be knowing what is the medication is being given to him. Only the researcher group or investigator will know about it. So that is single blind. Trial design is single or double blinded, conducted at multiple sites. So multi-center trial is also being done in phase 2B. These are the features that you need to know. Phase 3 studies are randomized controlled multi-center trials on a larger group. So you can see the groups, the number of volunteers are increasing in a periodic serially. So 300 to 3,000 or more, depending on the disease, or like for for a pandemic like this, COVID-19, the phase 3 trial will be on a big population, that is more than 3,000, I'm sure. But if it was something else, if it was some dengue or something else, that's not that much of dangerous like COVID-19, then it would have been in 300 or 2,000 or 3,000 people, right? And are aimed at being a definitive assessment how effective a drug is and a comparison of the gold standard. So here, if there is any kind of gold standard as in if there is any kind of standard drug, suppose this year the COVID-19 therapy or medication is being developed. In coming 2 years, so like in 2023-22, there's a research group who is also working on a COVID-19 medication, another medication, and that medication has come already crossed the phase 2 trial and is on the phase 3 trial. So he will be comparing with the medication which has been developed in this year, right? That because this year the first medication, and it has been it will be considered as a gold standard, as a standard medication for COVID-19. But this year, whenever we don't have any kind of standard, so we have to make sure whether it is being effective or not. We won't be able to compare it with any kind of gold standard. So these are the types of phase 3. Here it is also being classified into phase 3A, phase 3B. Phase 3B is very, very important. Let me tell you what is phase 3A. The subjects are large group, as there is phase 3. Open level or single or double blind trial. Multi-center trial can be done to see the pharmacodynamic and pharmacoeconomic effect. So what is pharmacoeconomic effect? For an example, I can give you, like if the COVID-19 vaccine is coming, but it is costing around 3,000, suppose in case. So that will not be very economic thing to buy, because in our country, in India, most of the peoples are under poverty level or below the poverty level, or they're middle class. So it's not very possible for a single dose to buy 3,000 for a family. If a family is having 5 members, so 15,000 they cannot spend on the vaccine, because the situation we are running through, a lot of people are suffering from financial crisis. So here they cannot spend 15,000 at a time. So that is not, so this is the pharmacoeconomic evaluation, the which country I'm going to release it, are they able to buy it on a high cost. So that all these things, this economical matters related to that particular drug, have to be considered. Phase 3B trials will continue while regulatory submission is pending, because because after that it will go to market in the phase 4 trial. So all the regulatory all the regulatory submissions, or all these formalities from the regulatory body has to be approved, and NDA, that is new drug application, has to be filed. So this is all about phase 3B. Phase 4, as I said, it is a post-marketing surveillance. Like once it is being passed to full phase 4, so it will be shown to the market. So for an example, as I'm being giving you the uh, example of COVID-19 vaccine. So if it is the phase 3 trial is being passed, then it will be coming to the market and it will be available not everywhere, to certain clinics or certain hospitals. From there we have to take the vaccination. So, and there will be a team. They will see whether any of the people is suffering from any issues after taking the vaccine. So that they will be jotted down. They will be noted down. And after that, that is surveillance is also going on. So where the volunteers as a large population, so there is no informed consent. There is nothing, because it has already been crossed phase 3 trials. So that is called a post-marketing surveillance. After marketing, we are surveilling. So if we are doing surveillance, so if there is any kind of issues, big issues are being found, then we have to, that the drug will be withdrawn by the researcher group. So this is all about the phase 4. So, and this trial is very, very relevant nowadays, because the situation we are running through and the trials of a COVID vaccine is going on, as you know. So the conclusion is the conclusion I already mentioned, that the first seed is very important for any kind of research. Once if the drug is not coming in the market, any kind of drug, there will not be any medication, there will not be any therapy, there will not be any formulation development, there will not be any kind of research further. So the trial is the most important thing in case of drug, if we talk about drug, because through trial we get to know the lot of hidden information that is very important to know. So because it gives a theory about the drug, what it does, what it does not, what it all about. Okay. So these are some of the probable questions that you may prepare, that may help you to, prepare yourself for the semester, for the sessional exams. And if you do this kind of question, it will help you to know the chapter better, I would say, the topic better. So I'll request all of you to go through that to find the answers of this. If you're not getting, I'm also there to help you out. But first you try. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening me, for being so attentive. And I'll request all of you to go through this full video session twice or thrice. I'm sure you will understand. It's not something very difficult to understand. But if there is any kind of issues, any kind of doubts you're having, we can discuss that in the doubt clearing class or in the next class. Thank you so much.